Connected. All right, awesome.
Do
Yeah.
what?
I said, welcome, you're here. And it's kind of like one of those things is like Apple versus Mac. It's almost like Zoom versus Teams and all that good stuff. So, all right, we've got some people waiting in the I just keep hitting admit here. This is really cool. Very excited to see everyone here. All right. Welcome, 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 everyone. Whoop, whoop. Hang on a second. Let me invite, admit her. All right. Okay, we'll give it another minute or so and we'll have an opportunity to go around and do some introductions. Hopefully everyone is enjoying June. I was almost about to say it's summer. I mean, it's feeling a little bit like summer, but I don't think it's officially summer. So, hello everyone. Welcome. Okay. Well, that said, I mean, I think there's still going to be some people that are going to be rolling in, and so we'll have an opportunity as we're going around, as because we'd like to just make, an opportunity to see who all is here. Introduce your name, and firm you're with, and then where you're calling in from, and we have a question as well. And that question is you're going to be kind of thinking a little bit from a scale of 0 to 10. You could put this in the chat, and then we'll have an opportunity to take a look. How is the adoption rate of your CRM within your firm? So again, I know that we're kind of looking at I know that there's a lot of variables that could be in there, but just kind of to give an idea, that would be a really key piece of what we're looking at talking about here today. So with that being said, I know, I want to make sure that I introduce myself. I'm Mark, and I am co-founder with Mike Jones here. So Mike, do you want to do a little introduction about Kindred, and then we'll go around and have everyone introduce themselves?
Yeah, so Mark and I co-founded Kindred last year. We are a business development consulting and training firm, and we help companies with their business development practices, whether that's CRM, all the way through their sales process and into outreach programs as well. So we started these CRM roundtable or Q&A calls just to help each other and help others in the industry, and just help everybody think through how you're utilizing CRM. We do another call as well each month on LinkedIn, specifically around Sales Navigator and how to use that as an outreach tool. Um, so if anyone's interested in that, you're welcome to let us know and we'll get you signed up for that. But we're just really excited you're all here. And one of our key kind of things is always looking at all of this through the lens of relationship development. Because at the end of the day, for professional services firms, as much as you need the sale, you really need the relationship. And that's the core driver that should be behind everything that you do from a business development standpoint. And that's something we believe in. It's something we preach with our team and with our clients. And we hope that that's something that's helpful for you all as you're thinking this through. So these are great calls just to kind of get questions answered, roundtable stuff with the group. We have a few questions already prepped if that's helpful to kind of keep the conversation going. They are quick, they're 30 minutes, but we're excited that you all are here. So, Mark, back to you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm seeing some great answers here, and some, a little higher than others, and that's okay. And what we want to be able to do is we kind of get a little bit of a litmus test of where everyone's at. So anywhere from 4 to 7-ish is what I'm seeing inside of the answer here. So let's just go around real quick. I mean, literally probably under 10 seconds because I want to make sure that we, as Mike just alluded to, we've got 30 minutes here. We want to make sure that we're able to get to the questions. And, as we really like to focus on this, we want to make sure that this is a Q&A. So what you can best benefit from, that's what we want to really be able to serve. So, we wanted to start off with adoption. If there's some other question that you have that we could serve you with, that's also great. And also, feel free to learn from each other too. Like there's been a lot of great, Cammy's been on, Mandy's been on. There's just been a number of people that have come back, Christine. So, please feel free to like support each other as well. So that's, what we want to make sure that that relationship is beginning to be formed all over the place. So I'm going to start up with Cammy, then Kat, and then Gabrielle. Gabrielle, I'm guessing Gabrielle. Okay. So Cammy, Kat, Gabrielle, and then I'll give the next three.
My name is Kami Miner. I'm with England Reckman Armstrong, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications.
Awesome. Welcome. Kat.
I'm Kat Picard. I'm with Barry Dunn and I'm the Salesforce team manager.
Awesome. All right, welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm Gabrielle Munson. I'm the Director of Marketing for Richie May based in Inglewood, Colorado.
Awesome. All right, then we'll go to Christine, Mandy, and then Andy. That's how they're showing up on my screen. So welcome back, Christine.
Thanks. I'm Christine Stacy. I'm the marketing director at WIS. We're based in New York, New Jersey area.
Awesome. All right, welcome back. Mandy, welcome back as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Mandy, I'm with Ray Business Advisor. We just rebranded. And I'm calling in from Ohio, Northeast Ohio.
I'm
Fantastic.
Andy Pulse. I'm with Barry Dunn as well, and I am on the CRM team as the project coordinator.
Oh, awesome. All right. So you're right there in the in the swing of things. Fantastic, Andy. Great. Glad to have you here. All right, then we're going to go down to Holly, Jashana, and then Joe.
Okay, so yes, I'm Holly Fadley. I work with Wyndham Brandon. We are based out of Atlanta.
Awesome. All right. Jashana, good to see you again.
I am Jashana Fox, Marketing Director at Brown Plus, based in Central Pennsylvania.
Awesome. All right. Fantastic.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Kovacs, founder and managing director of Kovacs Communications, a marketing consultancy that serves smaller and mid-sized CPA firms. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. All right. Awesome. And then we'll wrap up with Abhijit. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. And then
That's perfect.
Mario.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Abby. I'm the Salesforce admin at Barry Dunn.
Awesome. All right. We've got a good amount of Barry Dunns here. Fantastic. We're glad to have you. Oh, you're on mute. Well,
Unmuted.
there we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Sorry, I'm taking 4 seconds to waste. Margot Anderson, I'm with Larson and Company. We're in Salt Lake City.
All right, good. Well, it's good to see a number of you again, and also a number of you for the first time. So great. What you all should have received, if you haven't, I'm happy to send that after the call, is the worksheet on CRM. And there's a number of different strategies inside of it, along with even a video that's done just to kind of break down that a little bit further. And, while this is not all encompassing, these are really, really, really fundamental pieces. So I'm going to just share my screen real quick. And then what I'd love to do is see where you might be, struggling in from an adoption perspective, since again, we're around that 4 to 7, and where else we might be able to help support you with it. So let me start sharing my screen. And this is, whoops, that's my Zoom overview. All right, so this is the CRM worksheet that we've created. And without getting into all the details, a big key factor in here, and many of you are marketers, so the ins and outs of understanding persona. And we really like to take that to a whole different level, just simply because when we're talking about CRM, the way to really effectively develop that relationship, as Mike was discussing at the beginning, is really understanding what are you saying to whom, and what are they challenged with? What are their goals and what are their aspirations? How can we really start to communicate those types of things inside of automations, inside of sequences, inside of deal flows, to make sure that we're really being able to help them feel and connect with the firm and what it is that can be really generated as a result of connecting and having a meeting and then eventually hiring you. Along with that, there's some business development kind of strategies in terms of the deal flow from leads, and really defining what is a lead versus a sales qualified lead versus a marketing qualified lead versus an opportunity. And the idea there is really, we have all these terms and they might be a little different based off of the CRM that you use, but just kind of defining what that is. And then the last piece is intentional focus, is really kind of like helping to understand what filters, what elements are you looking for when you're looking for the lower hanging fruit as your CRM is deploying some of those sequences. How are people really be able to see what are some of those prospects that we should be leaning in a little bit more on, asking for that next step of a meeting or something else. And so that's really, again, a very quick overview. I know that that's almost a very fire hydrant type of approach there, but at least wanted to start sharing that from the standpoint of what would help serve you guys today as it relates to making sure that the firm gets adopting more of the CRM.
I can speak on behalf of Barry Dunn, I guess.
Thank you. Very well represented. So thank you, Kat.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. By the way, Mandy, thank you for responding to our business developments post. Yeah, and I don't really know how these sessions go or what we talk about, but I know, our team right now so we use our opportunity object within Salesforce largely for the proposal development process. And so our opportunity entry form is quite long. And so our business development folks seem to really understand why we're asking for the data that we're asking for. But when it comes to an end user, if they have to create their own opportunity, it can be a little bit cumbersome. So we're working on some strategies around that. One of the things that we're really struggling with this year and why I was looking for a networking group is around opportunity type, which is sort of what we have categorized, like, is it a one time, a first time, a recurring, things like that. We don't have a great way that we're currently categorizing that. And then thinking about automation and rules for if someone says that it's a repeat engagement, whether it's a tax audit, something that's going to recur every year or something like that. Right now we have it that it just has to be manually recreated every year. Again, back to like the fields and things like that. So just wanted to know if anyone has fixed that problem or has a solution for that problem or is in the same boat.
And just to clarify, you guys are using Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Great.
Are we the only ones on Salesforce here?
Is anyone else using Salesforce in this
We
group?
are.
Okay.
Okay, great. I have a thought, and I want to make sure that we kind of open it up to others as well. So, anyone have an idea or strategy?
I was just going to mention that we're in the same boat
Mhm.
with our end users not really wanting to fill out the forms in CRM, but business development, they totally get it. They're very thorough. They pay attention to what they're entering. That's probably the biggest struggle that we have.
Okay. Okay. Well, something that, thank you, Mandy. Anyone else?
I probably got a comment,
Yeah.
and I want to add to that. I mean, as far as getting the necessary information from our people who are business developing, showing them how important it is, but also balancing that with how much time we're going to take. So I'm with you there. But as far as recurring events, something that we did that kind of was like the carrot we dangled in front of everybody was we had a consultant come in and we tied it to our time and billing system. So it talks to time and billing now, and time and billing takes care of recurrence and feeds the information back.
That is my dream.
That's
sorry?
how our CRM is set up. We have it tied into the time and billing system, which is probably the only reason why we actually have usage of our CRM is because they can't get a new client number to start working on it unless they go through the CRM and fill in all of the required fields. So that's really helped us. And then the recurrence is handled on the time and billing side and has nothing to do. We do have a field selected to say whether or not it's a recurring or a non-recurring project because that has reporting implications for us, but the actual creation of it is handled on the time and billing side.
Good. All right. Like that as a yeah another fail-safe essentially of a system. Like yes, this is going to be tied into a lot of things that are going to be very important for you. So making sure that it's leveraged in that way. That's wonderful. I like that idea. Anyone else? All right. So one thing that I was going to say, and years ago, I heard this phrase about just like eliminating friction, right? As much friction as possible. And so an element that Mike and I talk a lot about as we're developing this too is, well, there's two things. One of which is, I don't know how many of you have ever seen or heard of a mind map. But one of the things that we actually really invite our clients and what we'll work with them on is creating what does that flow look like through the business development process? And I'm happy to even do a little screenshot sometime and just and show that and share that with all of you who are here today. And I could showcase a little bit of Kindred. And the reason that I'm inviting that is seeing all of the steps that are involved in that business development process. And the reason I'm mentioning that first before I go into the second step is the fact of what is a sales question ladder? Like, what are the main questions? Because what I'm hearing is there's a very long form. The business developers get it, but like clients, it's like, my gosh, you want me to fill in all of these details. Where in what stage do they need to answer some of those questions? And where are some of the questions that can be delayed till later until they're more qualified or something along those lines? Or maybe these are actual clients already. I'm not quite clear exactly on where each of you are kind of referring to this. But I really would invite you to take a look at, if you listed out all of those questions, are there steps? Like step one, here's the initial, like, welcome. We are so excited to be working with you. Here are three questions to answer. And then you get them to have some buy-in, and it's like the simple things. And I always use this example, like I when Mike and I were presenting at Summit, one of the first question that I was saying is I'm like, well, who are you? And I'm like, that's a big question, right? And like if I were to ask you that on the street, you'd be like, that's a big question. Like, how much time do you have? Versus like asking something really simple of like, think about the forms that you are happy to fill out, or like when you're initially engaging, and this is kind of, I don't know if this is just me, but when you got those first few questions, it's like, okay, first name, last name, got it. Email, got it. Those are pretty simple for me to answer. When you start getting into a lot more of the detail, it starts getting a little overwhelming, and you're like, oh, I got to come back to this. This seems like too much. I've got to plan for 30 minutes or 45 minutes to really answer this the way that I really want to effectively do that. And so, what I would invite you to really take a look at are, what are some of those things from a, sales question ladder perspective, and how can you maybe break that down over a series of times? And yes, it's not as efficient. At the same time, it may be more effective, and there might be more adoption inside of it. So those are a couple of thoughts that I had, and I just wanted to share.
Question on that, Mark.
Yeah.
So a lot of our issues too, are like with prospect records, for instance, like, we don't have enough data in there to even really properly market to them, or because they don't fill anything out. So I guess it's like, at what point would you say that it's acceptable for like a prospect to be like at that point of like we have enough information on them to keep going? Or I mean, I think that a lot of our issue is like they don't want to take the time to even get into CRM. And the fields that I've made required to save the form are so minimal. Like literally, what's their industry? Like what's the
Yeah.
name? They barely have to put anything in. And I mean, I'm just finding myself like just deactivating useless organization records and contact records because there's not even an email. What are we going to do with this?
Right.
Um, so that's my
Um,
level of frustration, guys. I don't know.
do
Yes.
you,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I didn't
Go
mean
ahead,
to
Kimmy.
interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I just thought a thought. So with your forms or whatever, do you not have it like as a mandatory form or a mandatory field to enter the email address?
We don't. And the thing about it is we live in an area too where we have a lot of plain community, so a lot of them don't have an email. So it's like we try to do what we can to require things at certain points as well.
Right.
And then giving that exception, like for billing, for instance, we went to all electronic e-bills. They have to like email finance to let them know like, hey, they're Amish, there's no email. So we've done little things like that. But as far as like building our records to be valuable, as far as like reporting on prospects and that sort of thing, it's just like it's exhausting really. And I think a lot of that comes from no accountability at the top as well. But
Yeah, I understand completely.
big
The only
part of
reason
it.
why I ask is because I was running into the same issue.
Yeah.
And for us, we send all of our proposals via email. It's a very rare occasion where we're printing a PDF file. I'm very
Yeah.
rare. So for us, I just got my managing partner's backing, and he was like, "Oh, absolutely. If that's something that we need, then we have to have it. And we shouldn't be proposing on a client if we don't at least have their email address." That's just how our particular situation works out. So I made that mandatory. And then once I did that, I started getting cleaner data in my CRM. We use HubSpot, so it's a little bit different, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, Mandy, I was gonna, so we also had a similar situation because we had people who came to us and said, like, I have this 90-year-old client and she doesn't have an email, so we shouldn't have this as a required field. So we just have like a little explainer note below that field to say that if your client does not have an email, just put none at brownplus.com because then we filter that out of our reporting. So then it requires them to put something in that field, and that like changed a ton of stuff for us.
Huh. That's not that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and the managing partner buy-in is probably really important for your CRM implementation because they have to be willing to essentially talk to their leadership to say like, hey, you've got to do this. Like my managing principal will go into meetings and will say things like the instructions for the CRM or it's CRM for dummies. And I know because I just used it. So the rest of you should be able to. So like if you don't have that, it does become a little bit of a challenge. I don't think it's impossible, but it does make it a little more challenging for you.
Yeah.
I have a couple thoughts on that specifically because we've run into that a number of times where leadership isn't backing you up, and so you don't. There's just only so many tools in the toolbox at that point to get people to use the CRM and use it effectively. On the lowest level, like tactical level, is just what can you control and options you can give them to give you the data. So sometimes it's like, hey, there are just practitioners in the firm who are not going to get in the CRM unless they are forced to. You don't have that authority. And so can you give them other options to give you that data? Even if it's like, I mean, we've done stuff like set up a Teams channel. It's like just for deals or just for prospects, and they can drop that data in there. But on the other end of it, nobody really does anything unless there's some kind of accountability, right?
Right.
Well, you have all the data to at least show who is entering information, who is getting prospects in, who is getting the deals into the CRM.
Yeah.
So whether or not you can like publish that, but at least pass that up the chain and say, hey, here's a monthly report of how everyone's doing in terms of getting prospects into the CRM. And when people start to see like, oh, I'm 50th on the list, that doesn't feel great.
Yeah. Well,
Everyone else is doing better than me.
When we had a training yesterday about it too, and I told them that it's not acceptable. They're not to be giving admin sticky notes anymore with 3 pieces of information. Not acceptable. Don't be forwarding them prior to your tax returns to have to find all these little pieces to put it all together. I was like, I will find you. I will find all of you. That doesn't work. I don't know.
When in doubt, threat. Threaten.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, now you're going to find them and you're going to publish it company-wide.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a little bit of like, and it's sad, but it's like sometimes it's like people kind of need to be shamed into it. But we've seen that where like when you start showing people any activity, right, around business development, when you start showing people, here are the top 10, right? Here's the top 20 in the firm who are doing it well, whatever the category is, whether it's getting prospects entered in, right? Like number of prospects this month, or completion of data, or, you know, probably something more important to them would be like deals closed, right? Amount of revenue closed this month. That stuff starts to like show the rest of the firm who maybe is not as once, you know, they're struggling with those things. They don't see the priority of it. It's just not in their nature to be doing that kind of stuff. Like,
they're going to want to do better because they see it. Yeah, I like that. That comes, that just kicks something in my sales brain. Like, that's a good idea. I like that.
And to be like grossly overgeneralizing, you know, with generally with accountants and advisors, they tend to be competitive. And especially if you put numbers in front of them, you put data in front of them, they're going to go, oh, I want to get to the top. I mean, it's like why there's rankings for accounting firms. It just plays to that side of ego. So I don't know. That's just one thing I found helpful of just tapping into that. But on the other side would just be like, are there acceptable ways to give them options? Or even like, I can see a case for like the UI of a lot of CRMs is overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming to most like casual users.
Mm-hmm.
So even like doing intake forms that are separate from the CRM and then just tie them in with the API or, something like that, that just make it really simple and there aren't anything else to distract them or get them like, oh, there's so many fields and I don't know which ones I'm supposed to fill out, even though I do. That those are other things I'd maybe think about. But
Those are good. That's good. I like that. Because we
So-
do an external form right now. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, before Holly, Holly's next. I know Gabrielle. I see you hopping on in and off mute, so you might have a question. One thing, just to build on what Mike had said, I want to yes and him is, for those that actually are, as you're tracking those 10 to 20, top 10 to 20, even giving them the opportunity to speak maybe for a couple minutes on what got them over the hill. Like, what was the thing that like was that catalyst moment for them where they're like, yeah, I wasn't doing this, and then all of a sudden I did this. Because when they're able to speak from their own example and they're learning from their peer, they have an opportunity to hear like, oh yeah, that's me, right? And so, well, that was you 2 months ago, and then you started doing this, and now here you are presenting to everyone. And not from an ego perspective, just from a simply sharing, like, this is a team sport. And so giving the opportunity of, again, the relational building that's happening internally as well is just as important. So that was just something else that kind of popped in. So thanks, Holly, and then Gabrielle.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the whole management buy-in. Unfortunately, we're kind of opposite in that we have buy-in. And what helped was when you take all of the reports to them that you can prove. Here, look at all of the stats I can give you. And we have tied almost every single KPI for a principal into the CRM, and it's going to be mandatory. The rule's going to be, if it's not in CRM, it won't count. And that includes meetings, telephone calls, the whole 9 yards. But you got to show them, because they have this preconceived notion of what a CRM does, like an electronic Rolodex to some. And when you can just show them, hey, here's what you're going to get, it can change real fast. And it did, here at the firm. So
Love
it's kind of
that.
like reverse engineering a little bit.
That's beautiful. Great job. Yeah, that's a great share.
Yeah, I was just going to expand upon, we did what Mike was describing. It's probably taken us 2 years of iterations to get there, but we've found a lot of value in displaying. It's not necessarily a leaderboard, but we look back every month. We do a pipeline with all of our business development team, and we invite the partners who care. So the ones who care will come, the ones who don't, and they always have the opportunity to come if they want to. All we care about is that the BDs are putting it in there. And so they've greatly adopted this visual pipeline that we do, and we have each person run through their pipeline, their wins, their closed wins for the last 30 days, their upcoming wins for the next 30 days. And then sometimes we'll look a little bit further outside of that. But the visuals and the dashboards are what really changed the game for us in this area, as well as having them run through it, as having each person run through their own. Because when we didn't have the visuals and when they just ran through it by business unit, it was easy for everybody to hide behind it. And now when we're like, you have to speak to what you did and what is coming up, and we'll give them the opportunity to say like, well, how do you need us to support you? How do you need partners in this area to support you? And that can open up the conversation to overcome the challenges, but it's gotten a lot more buy-in.
Beautiful. Well, I love that. Thank you so much for contributing that. And then the other thing too is I think, we could all be more gentle on ourselves on the speed in which things are done, right? Like Gabrielle was just saying that this has been 2 years in the process, and CRM is not done ever, right? And so I think I was just listening to something from Simon Sinek, and he was just talking about this speed to like all of this growth and all of these other things, and it's like there's the journey, right? And as humans, we are about the journey, not the destination. And if we can continue to work on one step at a time, and that's really the idea of why Mike and I want to do these Q&As each and every single month, is to give you an opportunity to say, all right, here's something. And so before we kind of wrap up here today, we typically have asked for like a takeaway. I would almost invite you to say, like, what could you focus on that's manageable outside of not taking on the whole thing. Like, yeah, you're going to implement all the cleanup of all your data. You're going to make sure all the fields are full. That's not going to happen in a month, even if you were to devote your entire month to it. But what could you, out of the conversation here today, what could you commit to between now and next month? And, would be happy to even kind of say, like, do you want us to check in on something along those lines? So if you wanted to email us back on what that is that you wanted to focus on, and then, that could be something that we talk about next month. So, again, those are just a couple of the things that I'm thinking about. I know we're right at time, and so would love to have, just Shoshana just mentioned here. We have approval process.
Sorry, I was trying not
No,
to
no, that's
extend
totally fine. No, okay.
time.
Okay. I just want, there's a
I'm
little bit
just
more than
putting
like
it
a
in the
sentence.
chat.
It's all good. No, thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Just
No, I
in
love
case anyone else needs any suggestions on forced interactions with your CRM.
I love it. No, thank you for that. Thank you for all the contributions today. This is really great, and we really want to make sure. Okay, I see, Cami, you've got to hop. Thank you so much for joining. Anyone else in particular have like a takeaway that they'd like to share as a wrap it up, or even something that you wanted to say? This is what I'm going to commit to. No pressure.
Well, I have one thing. We send our intake form to our clients to fill out so that they're the ones filling out all the things they already know. But I have someone and there's a rule that it can't be set up in our time and billing unless it comes from that form. Have a couple people who go around that. There's one admin that will do it for them, and she's like on my list of people to give the dirty eye to or whatever. So I had to explain to them why it matters. Like, I can't invite this client to your training that you're doing next month because you didn't set them up in the CRM. This is why we need the info. So I think if they understand why you're asking it rather than this is just something I want you to do that makes my job better, it goes really far with those who kind of don't care about it. If they see the why it matters and how it's going to benefit them. Like, I can't send them this video on how to upload their tax documents because they're not in here and so they're not on the list. Like, industry wasn't checked, email's not correct. That's been helpful for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, again, this is great. We'll be doing these again next month. It's the first Thursday of every month. As Mike also alluded to, we do a LinkedIn Q&A as well, where we really kind of lift the hood on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. So that happens on the third Thursday of every month. So feel free to join. For all of you that are new here today, I'm going to send over a little bit of a video and even like a little bit of a spreadsheet in terms of as you need to clean up some data. There's some fields that you could take a look at, so feel free to that. And if there's anything that you would like for us to kind of talk through a little bit more on a one-on-one, we're more than happy to do that as well. So, I just want to say thank you for everyone. I mean, everyone contributed so well today. I really, this is exactly what Mike and I have envisioned for this, is to really be able to be that support and know, I saw Kat, what you said is like, you're not alone. And I think that's the biggest thing inside of that. And so, yeah, we love creating the space here. And for all of you guys to hop back in, you're more than welcome to join back. So, Mike, anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, just that I think there were a couple of questions, Kat, that you had that we didn't really get to today. So I did put those in the chat, and we'll see if we can do a follow-up next time. Specifically, the automation one, I think would be really interesting to
I
unpack a little bit
imagine
more.
we'll get there at some
Yep.
point. Yeah, we're not integrated with our time and billing, and we've been told we won't be for at least a year. So looking for creative solutions until that point for sure.
Yep. Yep. It's great.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Join us next month. Thank you.
See
Thank you
y'all.
so much for being here. All right. And let me.
This is a good group.